All right, our next inductee is from basketball 1939 to 1942, Hall of Famer Robert Dahl. As a sophomore, Robert led CU to the 1940 title game of the National Invitation Tournament in New York City. And gang, back in the day, the NIT was the tournament, where he was selected the most outstanding player of the NIT, leading the Buffaloes to wins over DePaul and Duquesne. He was the tournament's leading scorer with 31 points. CU was the champion of the Mountain States Conference 2 of his 3 seasons with a 43-12 record, 29-7 in league play, and they were 21-1 at home at Balch Fieldhouse. The 6'5" Dahl became known for his aggressive defense as he was named a unanimous first-team All-Mountain States Conference player as a senior. But he was also CU's second All-American of the sport, joining one-time teammate and previous CU Athletic Hall of Famer Jack Harvey. After serving the military during World War II, he returned to become CU's first alum to play professional basketball. He played for the St. Louis Bombers and the Boston Celtics of the Basketball Association of America. Later, it was rebranded, of course, as the NBA, with a brief stop in between with the original Denver Nuggets. Did you guys know there was a Denver Nuggets back in the 40s that ultimately became now the world champion Denver Nuggets that we know right now? He was just 40 when he passed away on September 18th of 1959. An interesting family note is that his grandparents were Boulder pioneer families. One grandfather fought in the Civil War. The other arrived in Boulder in 1870. And some 8 decades since he last wore a CU uniform, Dahl still has a connection here to CU. His great-grandson, James Putman, is a senior here in the Leeds School of Business. How about that? It's really a family institution. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bob's son, Bob Winsett, to receive this honor.
Wow, well, that's about all the statistical information I can cover. First of all, we'd like to thank Coach Boyle for joining us at our table tonight. We know it's a really busy time of the year for him and the whole family, and there are a lot of us, are really grateful to have him join us tonight. So this tribute is going to be a little bit more circuitous than the other one so far, so please bear with me. I literally would not be here tonight if it weren't for Saul and Essie, Google, and my dad, Bob Dahl. Just 2 months ago, I was sitting on the couch and I happened to turn on a PBS documentary, Born to Lead, the Saul and Essie story. Pretty amazing film, and for anyone not familiar with the story, it's a remarkable retelling of Saul's premature death, as well as his impact on CU football in the late 80s and 90s. After the film, I decided to Google a couple of the players who are familiar, of course, to all CU football fans, Darian Hagan and Eric Bieniemy. On one of their Wikipedia pages, I found mention of the CU Athletic Hall of Fame. So thinking it'd be interesting to see who might be in the hall, I Googled that. As I was scrolling down the names, Emma, you didn't cry. I might. I Googled that, and as I was scrolling down the names, when I got to the D's, there was my dad's name. This is just 2 months ago. So I clicked on his name, which took me to his bio. Well, I knew some of the stats, and we now all know all the stats about Dad's basketball career from intermittent Googling over the years. I never realized until that moment how much impact he had on CU basketball back then. To be redundant, how he had led the team to the NIT championship in 1940, how he was named the most valuable player in that tournament, how he helped lead the Buffs to its first 2 appearances in the NCAA tournament, and how he was such a defensive force to be reckoned with, how he was only the 2nd All-American in CU basketball history, and how he was the first CU player to play professionally on 2 different teams in the Basketball Association of America, which later became the NBA. He played in over 200 regular season games as a pro and averaged over 8 points per game back before there was a 3-point line. I was, to say, pretty amazed. Further down the bio, there was mention of a banner being hung in his honor this weekend in Niwot, next to banners honoring his grandfather and his father. So I Googled Niwot and Veterans Day. I found info about my dad, as well as the name of a person who had nominated him, who at that time I had never heard of, a woman named Kathy Kaler. So after more Googling, I came across a press release about the 12 individuals to be inducted this year. I scrolled down to the blurb about Dad and found a quote from a man named Larry Putnam, who I'd never heard of before, Putman. And he is Dad's grandson, as mentioned, from Dad's second marriage. Larry is also the one, thank you Larry, who nominated Dad for this honor tonight. So tonight is the first time we have all ever met face to face, so that's kind of incredible. And then, as part of the press release, there was another quote from this woman, Kathy Kaler, who, as the blurb mentioned, was Dad's niece and therefore my long-lost cousin. So having seen her name twice now, I Googled her again. The first thing I found was a short video from Denver Channel 7 honoring her for her work with the Niwot Historical Society. As I began to connect the dots, I decided to contact her, and after Googling her name again, I called the number I found for her that evening. Turns out that she had been looking for me for a number of years, which is another story altogether. After we all got done reintroducing ourselves on the phone that night, after 60 years of having lost track of each other, we talked about family history. And his dad died when I was just 6. I don't have a lot of memories of him. Thankfully, Kathy and her sister Carla, another of my newly refound cousins, had spent a lot of time with him and began to fill in a lot of the blanks. And they were able to tell me a lot of things about Bob Dahl as a human that I never knew after his basketball career. So Krista, Kathy's daughter, has also done an unbelievable amount of research on Ancestry.com, which among other things, as mentioned, traces our family back to the 1870s. And, oh, by the way, they mentioned to me something about a Hall of Fame induction on November 9th, which was news to me. Since then, we have all exchanged photos and recollections, and I've continued to Google. Larry already had team photos of Dad with the Celtics, where Dad played for 2 seasons, and most recently I was able to find a team photos from the St. Louis Bombers, as well as a team photo of Dad with the 1948-49 Nuggets, which included former Congressman Mo Udall. There's also a bubblegum card of Dad from 1948, and I even found a company that makes commemorative jersey with Dad's name on the back of it from his days with the St. Louis Bombers. So the last 2 months have, needless to say, been a time to discover more about Bob Dahl, and the athlete and the man, and to reconnect with long-lost family members. So now our whole family is looking forward to Saturday and hearing his name along with the names of all the other 11 inductees in front of 50,000 people. Thank you.